Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I want to talk for a moment kind of about pop culture because I'm a fan of pop culture. I like pop culture. I used to enjoy a lot of channels and blogs and other things about pop culture, and at some point, I think pop culture as a topic and a theme, particularly for channels and blogs and things, became shorthand for ideological culture or pop culture through an ideological lens. There were blogs I really enjoyed talking about just kind of minutia of like, hey, this is a strategy for how toys are made, and hey, here's why they put this amount. I was fascinated by this idea that they would do this toy line for a movie or something, and you'd have like five action figures, five male characters, one female character, and they would basically have a whole science around how many of each type would go into one case. And the idea was to generate a sense of scarcity amongst the characters that they thought would struggle, and just all the science behind that, the math behind that was fascinating to me. And now the same blog, like one of the same places I enjoy, has turned into kind of why the right wing is bad, why the left wing is bad, how Trump fits into everything, and it's exhausting. I miss old pop culture, and I'm honestly curious how many of you listening right now kind of remember this. There was a I mean, even here's an example. This is not a great example, but there was a website a long time ago called Topless Robot, and it had nothing to do with porn or anything. But Rob Bricken was an editor there for it. I think they had a few, but Rob Bricken was there, and the site was pretty pop culture based. I'd say it was fairly apolitical for a long amount of time. One of the things he did that I really enjoyed was he would have fan fiction Fridays, and he'd go find just awful fan fiction, and then he would just print it and like comment every now and then. It was hilarious. It was very very funny. And then this site went to hell. It changed. Bricken went over to IO9, and like immediately turned into almost everything that he would post. Not I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it suddenly had a heavy ideological bent. Instead of just talking about pop culture, it had to be pop culture through the lens of left wing politics, with right wing politics being bad. It took all the fun out of it. I miss pop culture discussions that are just pop culture, not with all this infused politics and left wing, right wing stuff. It's one of the reasons why, and I think people have misunderstood. I don't love the term SJW or woke or any of these. It's because it's an exhaustion of it. It's not saying that stuff doesn't exist. Obviously, these arguments and this stuff does exist. SJW is an easy one because there are people who proudly call themselves SJW. That's kind of how some of this got started, and then it became an insult, and now you got a variety of things going on with it. But it just got to be too much, and I find myself craving just here's what's going on. I try and do that with comics on this channel as much as I can. But it is, it's easy to fall into the trap because if you're going to talk about something that is related to Twitter, for example, Twitter holds a very big part of the comic conversation right now, and so it's impossible to kind of completely avoid it. But the second you start talking about it, you're instantly back into one of those zones of having to say, here's a comic that's failing. Why is it failing? Left-wing ideology. That's why it's failing. And then you're right into that trap. And again, everything I'm saying right now is not to say that people who do that on their channels shouldn't do it or they're wrong. They're more than welcome to. I'm saying for me, just me alone, I crave just straight up pop culture, none of this stuff. No discussions on whether it's race bending or whether there's a left wing agenda or whether there's a Trumpian political slant to it, or I just want to talk comics. I just want to talk pop culture. I have a desperate drive for that. I've thought for this channel over time, and I think it may still go there, provided I just don't get sick. Because I'll admit one other thing. I do feel like we're using a football analogy, the fourth quarter of this channel. I feel like it's going to start to wind down. I don't say it as a threatening thing. I just think there will come a point where there's going to be other things to go and run and do, and I think we're heading to that point. And keep in mind, I've got last check about 90 videos that still have to be processed and uploaded. So even if I stop hard today, the channel's going to go on for I don't know if I cut it back to a video a day, this channel will go on for another year without me recording anything new, based on kind of the pace of what will happen over the next couple of weeks. But we'll see. I again, no, I'm not. No, I'm not fishing for people to go. Don't leave in the comments. I'm not saying that. Mumbles. If he's, I don't know where Mumbles is. He's disappeared. There's a lot of people who are trying to be Mumbles, but there's really only one Mumbles, to be honest. So, but this is one of those moments where he comes in going, God, let this day come soon. But I have thought that this channel can evolve a little bit to trying to recapture some of that pop culture stuff, because there's a lot of topics that I find that I can't really kind of fit into this channel. I do enjoy every now and then doing something different. I enjoyed the restaurant conversation. That's not going to get huge views, but it's fun to do. One thing that struck me that is sort of comics related, but not really, is Lego does the Lego sets for the various Marvel movies. They even have some for What If. And I'm in a Target the other day, and I'm looking at the Lego sets that are out, and they just put them out for the Eternals. Now, the Eternals is a movie that's coming out relatively soon, and I still believe this is the one that is it's going to be hard to land. I think now we can definitively state, based on the tickets and the money and everything that's come in, it does appear that Shang-Chi is going to be the winner of the three this year: Eternal, Shang-Chi, and Black Widow. It's not like a glorious $1 billion win. It's kind of a one by default to some extent, because the movie industry is still to hell. But the Eternals is one of those that just feels like it's going to be a very hard sell to people. And nowhere is this better represented than with the Lego sets. So go check them out if you haven't seen these Lego sets for the Eternals, because there's one that is just a triangle brick of Legos. It is the most boring, uninspiring toy you've ever seen in your life. I mean, Shang-Chi has like a dragon in one of them, like a car racing scene for Legos. Eternals has this triangle brick. Like it is amazing. You look at that and you're like, nobody is going to buy this. Nobody. Like, this is a terrible toy. You're just praying. I mean, Marvel and Lego. I have to wonder what they were thinking at Lego when they like, okay, we need to do some ones. They have one that's a Celestial, but the Celestial looks crappy. It's like it looks very uninspired. It's kind of spindly, and it doesn't look at all like what if you had in your mind. Well, I put it this way: I guarantee you there are Lego fans out there who have built their own Celestials over the years, and they are big and inspiring. I saw one. I remember seeing a picture of somebody who did the Celestial head as a Lego set, and it was pretty amazing. Like, it did a great job. This one looks like it's a $30 Lego set, which in Lego money buys you like 5 Legos, and it's just this spindly looking cheap terrible thing. But the one that does take the cake is this triangle Hulk of nothing, which will be hopefully on the screen that you can see. But I just wonder what the Lego people were doing. Like, what do we do for this movie? I don't know. Let's make a triangle, and it'll be like a triangle block, and we'll sell some minifigs with it, and the completist will buy it, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I'm writing this one off. Nobody, I imagine the kid under the tree. They unwrap the present, and they see this triangle brick of Legos. I mean, that's how you say you hate your children, right there. But anyway, my point is, I think that there's a lot of fun pop culture topics out there that do not have to have they don't need to be seen through the lens of whether it's woke or anti-woke or racist or anti-racist or whatever it happens to be. It could just be pop culture. Once again, there's plenty of channels out there doing that. So this isn't me taking a stand against those channels. They can do what they want. I'm curious mainly for your reaction. Does anyone else crave and desire this like I do? A look at movies, at games, or less games. There's 10 billion gaming channels, but certainly movies, toys, pop culture that just takes a break from that other stuff. I don't know. Something I'm toying around with a lot. Plus, I had to talk about this big giant triangle block of crap that is coming up for the Eternals. I mean, I don't know. It's sometimes you look at these movies and you try to do forecasting, and a lot of it is common sense kind of stuff. It's like, are you hearing any buzz? Once upon a time, the job of marketing and positioning had a lot of that. You'd go and you'd search for buzz. Does this toy, does this comic, does this movie, does this magazine, whatever it happens to be, does this have kind of, this hook that will pull people in? And you look at Eternals and you're like, man, this one, a lot of people compare it to the Guardians of the Galaxy. And when you bring this up, they say, well, yeah, but Guardians of the Galaxy, nobody thought that would do well either. I mean, a tree and a raccoon character, come on. But the Guardians of the Galaxy, from the very beginning, from the very first trailer, it still looked cool. It still looked like something that is sci-fi pop culture, looked like an interesting ride. The Eternals is out there with this Lego set that's a triangle block. And I mean, nothing quite hammers home, I think, the struggle this movie's going to have. Now, it's still the MCU. There'll be plenty of MCU fans who are going to go see that film, even if it, basically flashed up on the screen, this is garbage. But still, this one's tough, I think. Anyway, let me know your thoughts below. It's an interesting topic, and thanks for listening.